My guest today in Grizzly Media show is better known for his role of Leatherface in the movie Texas Chainsaw Massacre 3D. Please welcome Dan Yeager. Hey Dan, how are you?
I'm well. How are you?
Fine, thank you. At first, how did you get the role of Leatherface?
Let's see. It's kind of a long story. I met the producer about the time he had purchased the rights to the Texas Chainsaw franchise, which was in 2009. And he, shortly after we met and started to hang out, he was developing the script. And I guess in the process, he started thinking about who the character was, Leatherface, because Leatherface, the movie's working title, as we were shooting it, was actually Leatherface 3D. So the movie's about him. And so he was really thinking about that character, and he kept trying to come up with, who that character is, authentically. And I guess more than once he kind of referred to me as the example of what they were looking for in the character, to the writers and whatnot. And then, he knew I was an actor, but I don't think he was willing to really force me, his friend, on the director. That's just kind of considered bad form in Hollywood. And so he basically invited us both to the same Christmas party. And the director, John Lessenhoff, he actually wrote an article for the Huffington Post where he describes when he first laid eyes on me. And it was at this party. He describes the whole thing. He saw me across the room, and I was I was the biggest guy in the room, suffice it to say. And he swears in this article that he wrote that he said to Mark Berg, who's the president of Twisted Pictures, he says to Mark, "I think I'm looking at Leatherface." And so, the Carl, the producer, he was very pleased, when John came to him and said, "Who's this guy?" And Carl says, "Oh, that's my friend Dan. He's an actor." He says, "I want him for Leatherface." He says, "Great." So anyway, that was basically how it happened. We met the next week, talked about the character. They all realized I knew more about it than most of them did, but just because I'm a big fan. But anyway, that was it. And then it was just, a matter of training, physical training, because it was a very physical role.
How did you psychology prepare yourself to play the killer? Did you watch the first movie? Did you contact the other actor who played the role? Or
yeah, the premise of our movie, followed directly the storyline of the original. So I'm playing the same character that Gunnar Hansen created. In the other movies, everything was a kind of a reimagining. And while I liked some of the stuff that they had come up with, and so did the writers, and so did the director, they put some other elements of some of the other Leatherfaces into the script. The overriding concern was that we try to maintain some continuity to the original in the character of Leatherface. So, I studied all the other ones and looked at what they did, and, really just kept going back to the original, which, I've been familiar with all my life, well, at least since high school.
Everybody knows that Leatherface is not a brainer. He killed because he is afraid, because his family was strange. For you, how mentally is Leatherface?
I don't think that. I think the jury is still out. I don't think he's mentally stunted. I think he's emotionally very stunted, but I don't think he's stupid. I think he's really capable of very complex thought. In my imagining of him, he's almost a savant trapped in this horrible, existence of, just lacking any real impulse control that, results from his fear. So, that's why he's so lethal. He doesn't have the emotional tools. I don't think he's stupid. I don't think he's, mentally retarded or, I think he's emotionally, undeveloped. I don't think he ever developed, an adult psyche, but he's certainly not stupid or mindless. He's very calculated but childlike in his, his fear and his love, for his family.
After you played this role, did you did you have some bad dreams when you're sleeping or something like that, or everything was cool?
Yeah, I've never dreamt about it at all that I recall. It's interesting. It became such a part of my life for so long, but it was always very, very much external. And, my experience with the whole thing is vastly different than everybody else's because, movies at their core are entirely manipulative. It's all trickery. We don't kill anybody. Nobody gets hurt. It's all fake. And so that's really what I remember is for James McDonald giggling as I'm trying to peel his face off. It's just a different experience on the other side of the camera. When you see it in a movie theater, it comes off as, oh my God, this grisly thing, but actually it's a completely different experience.
How this role then was important for you in your career?
Oh yeah, once I'll warn anybody who's thinking about playing Leatherface. Once you play Leatherface, you're Leatherface for the rest of your life.
Yeah.
Nobody. Yeah, I don't. Gunnar Hansen was Leatherface. He still is, even after he passed away. Yeah, Bill Johnson, very talented actor, has done all sorts of other things. He'll always be Leatherface. Very, very few of us get a chance to top it. So, but then I think Leatherface has a lot to offer. As a character, he's an interesting fellow. I enjoy the association. So.
Do you think it's possible for you to play the role again, or just for the franchise to have another movie of Texas Chainsaw Massacre?
Yeah, actually, we had a great script that followed Texas Chainsaw 3D and continued, right from that, that night. It continues forward, and it reveals. I mean, there's so much backstory. It was actually kind of fun to go back and watch the movie again after I read the script for the sequel, because apparently, the entire time they were working on this sequel while we were making the movie and trying to finish it and all that stuff. And they were, they had put so much of the sequel into the 3D movie. There's all sorts of little Easter eggs. If you know where the story is going, you say, oh yeah, there's that. It's all, and it gets much broader. That was one of the things, Texas Chainsaw Massacre, the original, is a very enclosed, kind of encircled, movie, little story, but it's very contained. And then, I think the story that we created kind of blew the doors wide open and really expanded the possibilities of where it can go. The dramatic possibilities of the movie now are endless. And the ones they chose were really fascinating. I don't know. They may make that movie someday. I don't know. They chose to make the prequel first, which, I don't know. That seemed misguided, but you can't tell these guys anything.
Another one for you. I know you participate sometime to Party of Horror convention or Comic-Con or something like that to meet the fans. What the reaction of the crowd when they meet you?
I don't know. Horror fans, I was very surprised. I really, when we first started, it was before we went to shoot Texas Chainsaw. The producer, the director, and I went over to Burbank, where they held a convention called the Son of Monster Palooza. And it's just one of the many horror conventions that go on. And we walked through that place just as fans. And, I saw a bunch of people from a bunch of movies that I just loved. And, it was awesome, and all the vendors, and it was really cool. And it was just a great experience. And then, the producer pointed out that I was going to be doing these. And I couldn't even wrap my head around that, what that meant. I was too focused on, getting ready for this movie. But since doing it, I've realized that horror fans in general are the nicest people you'll ever meet, just because, and it's a general rule everywhere I go. I was just up in Niagara Falls, and nice people. And Canadians have a reputation of niceness, which is well deserved. But horror fans, just everywhere you go, are really nice people. And I think it's because if you enjoy horror as entertainment, you are either an extreme psychopath or you have an extraordinarily elevated sense of empathy. The psychopaths enjoy it because of the torture aspects of it, but the real horror enthusiasts, the people who go to horror conventions, are the ones who have the elevated sense of empathy. They enjoy seeing the victim survive. They enjoy, and they feel for the victims, as they're going through this movie. It's an elevated experience for them, rather than just, the average person, I don't think, enjoys it just because they're uncomfortable. They don't have the level of empathy it takes to really get into the story. Anyway, that's my theory, by the way. It's not proven in any way. It's not scientific.
Dan, I know you have a big role with the Bad Anger company. What's next for you and the company?
Well, we have 4 completed scripts currently in development. We have one that's packaged for financing, and we've got it out there. We're peddling it around town, trying to raise the money, and then there's 3 more following up behind it. We've got the one that's kind of in the lead in development is called Slaughter Farm. After I wrote it, I did an interview and they asked me about it. And I said I feel like it's a worthy follow-up to my work in Texas Chainsaw because it really has that spirit about it. It's a well-motivated slasher movie. It's not. I don't care for violence sake. I like it to be well motivated. You certainly understand these people's motivations. But then we've got a couple of other stories, a couple of cryptozoological adventures, and a zombie movie. As well as a few shorts we're gonna shoot while we're raising money for the big ones.
Just a last one for you, Dan. What is your dream movie career?
I'm making a play to get into the director's chair. That's my ultimate goal. I really do enjoy writing. I've got half a dozen story ideas sitting here waiting for attention. I hope I'll live long enough to write them. But I really, I love directing. I've only ever done it on a very small scale. I really, I got some big stories to tell, and I hope I can sell the opportunity to do that.
Dan Yeager, thanks for your time. It's very appreciated for the Quebec fans. Hope just to see you play again, Leatherface, in the Texas Chainsaw Massacre, just to kill another guy or just another girl.
Yeah, no, I've got to tell you, I would enjoy that very much. People ask me what is it like to play Leatherface, and I always tell them, if anybody ever offers you the opportunity to put on a skin mask, get covered with blood, grab a chainsaw, and chase some poor girl like you want to kill her, to do it. Because there's nothing like it. Even when you're faking it, there's nothing like it.
It could not be better to close the interview.
Yeah. Thank you very much.
Thanks, bye.